Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We have another exciting guest on the podcast this week. None other than Joseph Neville. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Nice.
Yeah, how you doing? How's your week been, man? You've been busy?
A busy week leading up to the Y2K Prom thing. But yeah, it's been a good week. So
yeah,
good kind of busy.
Heck yeah, I love that. So tell me a little bit about you. Let the audience know. We have a gaming audience here hanging out. You are a local musician. Give us your spiel.
Yeah, man. My name is Joseph Neville. I was born in 1992. So for me, it was borrowing my aunt's Super Nintendo whenever I'd visit into the city. And then, always did music as a kid. Got to watch the transition from Super Nintendo all the way to like Xbox 360, which I think was like a significant development. Yeah. And so that was a cool thing to experience as a kid, as a young person. Fort Worth is my hometown. Born and raised here. Love it. I traveled the world, and the more I traveled, the more I wanted to plant roots in Fort Worth. I think it's a really special city, and I think you got to spend time outside of it to really recognize like how cool it is. And so I love the music culture, love the food culture, love the culture, and so been full-time music for about 10 years now.
What got you into music?
I think as a kid, honestly, it started in third grade for me. I think we did a field trip to the Bass Hall when I was in third grade, and I remember just like between the architecture of the room and like the energy, I'd never seen or been in a room and had that kind of experience before. And so experiencing that for the first time as a third grader definitely like ignited something in me that I wanted to explore. And so like when band became available, I thought about what I saw at Bass Hall, and I was like, yes, I want to get as close to that as possible. And then that kind of led me down that trail. I remember when I was in like sixth grade band, I annoyed some of my friends because like I wanted to practice like out of the Essential Elements book, and none of my friends wanted to practice with me. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, like maybe this is like just my thing, versus like what my other friends were into. But yeah, that was definitely what kicked it off.
Okay, what instrument in band?
I did percussion.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, they were gonna make me play the French horn, and I was like, I don't really want to do that. I want to do percussion. And so I asked the guy, like the band director, I was like, can I test? Like, can I try out for the percussion thing, even though you want me on French horn? And thank God I asked, because I did the little test, and they made room for me to be one of the percussion, students in sixth grade. So.
Okay,
that's awesome.
I wanted to do band whenever I was like in middle school,
really?
High school. Yeah. But of course, my lovely mom said no. Because
did she really?
Oh yeah, she had her reasons.
What were her reasons? Why should you say no to band?
My mom I'm originally from Georgia.
Okay.
And she is a very right-wing Southern woman. And she said a lot of inappropriate words to me about being in a band. Yeah, liberal
That's
band.
So sad.
Yeah, no. Well, she was concerned about a lot of different things growing up because I wasn't able to make a lot of friends to begin with. And I told this story just recently too with my coworkers, is that like my mom grabbed boys and was like, be friends with him. Because I was socially awkward.
Yeah.
So she was very concerned about that, and she didn't want me joining band because of that reason.
That's so funny because band is one of the great things about band being in schools is that you build community, make friends, work as a team,
yes.
She find your tribe,
Yeah, find your tribe. She didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
So, but
well, it's never too late.
Yeah, no, it's never too late.
That's true.
I probably should just go back to high school and go back to band. What kind of like genre music did you grow up on?
So I grew up, a lot of it was like, I'm the youngest of four. And so what I was listening to a lot of what my siblings were listening to, which was super diverse. It was all the way from like Korn to Britney Spears, honestly.
Oh, wow.
And so between my sisters, I was introduced to a lot of like Backstreet Boys, Tracy Chapman, things like that. And then through my brother and the guys that my sisters dated, who are now married to, Anderson .Paak, Ludacris, Breaking Benjamin, like rock, like that kind of stuff. And then obviously whatever was like top 40 at the time. So like for me, it was like I really like Sum 41, like that kind of like pop, punk rock kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, cool. So how did you? So your music? How would you describe the genre? It's like singer songwriter, like, kind of vibe, right? Yeah.
So the stuff I do solo as Joseph Neville is like acoustic singer songwriter. Yeah. So an emphasis on storytelling, an emphasis on like what can you do with just one guitar and one voice. And that's been a lot of fun. I think no matter what genre you're listening to, at the foundation, there's always just like a good melody, good lyrics, and hopefully a good story. And so when I saw that common thread, it encouraged me to like dive deeper into the singer-songwriter thing. Because if you can be a good songwriter, you can. It doesn't matter what genre you try to do. Like if you can write a good song with one guitar, one voice, then you're set. So,
what are some of your favorite singer-songwriters today?
Yeah. Do you want the cool guy answer or do you want the honest answer?
I want the honest
answer. Yeah.
Yeah. The honest answer is John Mayer.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. John Mayer, man, I remember listening to him before I had YouTube, and I remember thinking like, this guy's got a great voice and like cool songs, and whoever's playing guitar for him, like in his band, like he's got a great guitar player. And I Googled who is the lead guitarist for John Mayer, assuming like he had like a guy, because like, you can't play lead like that and lead the songs.
Yeah.
And then I found out that he was like the guy, like the guitar player and the vocalist, and I thought that was so cool. And I've just been like attached to his music ever since.
Yeah.
So every time he comes out with an album, I like deep dive into like what is he playing, what is he singing, and to this day I still get excited about his stuff.
I used to not like him as much when I first heard him because his music was like, I don't know, sad, romance breakup songs, this, that, whatever. But then I saw one of his live album shows where it's just him and his band, and he was doing his jamming and stuff. And then I was like sold. Yeah. And then now he's like skyrocketed up to one of my, because I was like, this guy, I mean, already I knew he could sing and like play well and everything, but man, some of those songs, like when he plays like Vultures, like live solo, it's just like mind blowing. It's so good.
I got into his stuff right when Where the Light Is had come out, so he did like the trio.
That was one that was.
And I was like, okay, this is legit.
Yeah, it was so cool. Anybody else? Any other big?
Dude, another guy I got really into in college. His name is he's still doing it. David Ramirez is a fantastic songwriter based out of Austin, and he put his whole library on SoundCloud, it was Noise Trade. When I was in college, like around 2012, downloaded his library, did a deep dive into it, and I actually ended up getting to meet him. He was doing like co-writes and songwriting consultations during COVID, and so I got to drive down there and hang out with him a little bit. Went out drinking with him, and like that was really cool.
That's awesome.
I remember like my hands were shaking a little bit, like handing him my chord charts, like, help me with this song. So he's a great guy.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big singer. I mean, I love live music. Like I remember, the first time I saw you actually was, ironically, before I ever knew anything about you, had ever met you or anything, was at Maggie's. You were playing a show.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, who is this guy? He's like, you started just jamming a little bit, and I was like, he's really, really good. And I looked you up afterwards, and then I met you through like the trend stuff, and I was like, okay, this is really. It was cool to kind of like put that together because I was a fan, and then met you in person. I was like, okay, this is awesome. But singer-songwriter type of music is some of my favorite stuff. Like Iron Wine, I'm a big fan of Iron Wine, and seen Damien Rice before and Ben Howard and stuff like that. Like a lot of those kinds of artists have been like really cool to see. But it's such an interesting like uncut, kind of like stripped down kind of sound that I really appreciate. Yeah. But also love, the big heavy rock and stuff too. Seeing
it's
all
a cool
stuff.
energy, and that's why I wanted to do the band thing too, because I was like, there's a kind of energy that you can create with that type of music that even if the songs are good or even the same songs, you can't quite create that with just a solo singer songwriter thing.
Yeah. So you have the band now. So how long have you had the band going on?
It's been about a year and a half maybe. Yeah. We did one show last year. It was a lot of fun. And it was cool because I remember being up there and we were playing one of the songs that has a little bit more groove in it. And I was watching people like move their bodies. And I was like, I've never seen people do that before. Like with like my solo acoustic songwriter stuff. And so, that's going to be a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah. How did you form the band? How did you meet the crew that you have? And
so it started with just me. Anybody with a MacBook and Logic Pro, you can produce like all kinds of cool stuff. So I knew the kind of sounds that I liked, and I knew the kind of bands I wanted to emulate. And so I just like investigated what pedals or what vocal processing they were doing, and wrote songs and produced them myself that sounded like what I kind of had in my head. And then when we got the opportunity to play live, I ended up asking a couple of my friends to hop on, and I did the same thing for this one.
Nice, yeah. So what is what's the genre for this band, and what were some of your inspirations?
Yeah, so I've been telling people it's like a soundtrack for your nostalgia fueled fever dream, and so it's like a lot of inspiration from like what my sisters were listening to. So like TLC, like Jessica Simpson, like those kinds of samples, which are all kind of come from like hip hop and R&B in the first place, and then a lot of the rock elements come from like Sum 41, Good Charlotte, Simple Plan, like those kinds of tunes.
Dude, I fucking used to listen the shit out of that album. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
It's good stuff. It's fun, and I love that stuff's kind of coming back into vogue a little bit.
That's an interesting mix. So a little TLC, a little Good Charlotte.
Yeah, I hope it makes sense.
Like
I like it. I like the way it sounds. And so we have during the show this weekend, we're doing a Wonderwall and TLC mashup. And so
what? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
Shit.
that's awesome. Yeah. So for those, when this podcast comes out, you'll have a show coming up. Tell me about the show that everybody can hear about.
Yeah, so March 29th at Tulips, a venue in Fort Worth.
Love Tulips.
Tulips is a great room. Jason Suter's a great guy. Love what they're doing there. We're doing an event called Y2K Prom. So we hired the same company that, I don't know if y'all have ever been to like a phone-free concert or something like that, a phone-free experience. But
this is
cool.
Yeah.
So I went and saw Jack White a few years ago, and it was the first concert I had ever been to where they had a company there. So you go in and you scan your ticket, and then after you scan your ticket, you check in to this table, and a company will take your smartphone, seal it in a neoprene sleeve.
I've seen the sleeves before because they're doing it at high schools.
Yeah, they're doing it
stuff.
at schools too.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was a school thing. I had a friend kind of laugh about it because she was like, "Yeah, my friends or my students, like they all hate it." You know, she was saying that might not be a good thing. But my first exposure to it was at a concert, and so it was at the Factory in Dallas, and turned on my phone. And at first, I was kind of annoyed by it. I just thought it was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
And then Jack White comes out, launches into the first song, and for the first time in my life, I didn't immediately see a few hundred people pull up a cell phone. And I like, sounds kind of dumb maybe, but like I got a little bit choked up, like a little bit red-eyed, like seeing that because it was just so special and so interesting. And a first for me, unfortunately. And so, and then I remember I got to the back of the bar halfway through the set to order a new drink, and was talking to this guy, and I had ordered my drink and then like instinctively like reached for my phone in my pocket, just to like kill time because you don't want to awkwardly like just stand there. And I couldn't do it because my phone was locked away. And the guy I had been talking to, like, he like made a comment because he had just done the same thing. And so he and I ended up like just continuing to chat and had like a nice little like 3-minute conversation about music and about what we were doing. And it was really cool. And so got my drink, went back to the, where my friends were. And I just remember thinking like that experience would never have had happened if I had like allowed myself to just bury my face in my phone. Yeah. And so Jack White's obviously a huge rock star, and he can ask that of his audience. And so I thought to myself, like, what's an event I could try to put on that would allow like Fort Worth locals to have a similar experience, even though we don't have the same clout to like make that ask. And so calling the show Y2K Prom, making it early 2000s themed, seemed like a cool opportunity to make that a net positive. Like, hey, it's going to be cool actually that you're putting your phone away for this because we're pretending like it's we're pretending like it's the early 2000s, and I also think it's going to help people connect in a way that hopefully me and that one guy connected at the Jack White show. So yeah, I'm stoked about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. Yeah, it was funny. I was actually talking to a friend a couple days ago, and they were like saying that they wanted to always want to get their friend group together to do like a old school prom style idea. And I was like, well, I got the thing for you. And I showed them the event. I was like, here, y'all should check this event out. It's gonna be pretty awesome. So.
I'm stoked about it. We have one of my friends is DJing like an hour and a half after the last band plays.
Yeah.
And I think that's honestly, even though I'm stoked to play, that's like honestly the thing I think I might be looking forward to the most is because the work's done and now we're just like partying and like dancing to early 2000s hits, and so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, that era too is just like, I mean, everybody loves that stuff. It's also cool to see like super young people. Like I was born in '89, so like I was went through the '90s and stuff, and it's like now there's like people that hurts me to say that they're like okay in their early 20s and stuff, but they still like that music. And they're like I wasn't. They were some of them were like I wasn't born until 2005 or whatever. Yeah. But they still enjoy that music from probably their siblings and stuff like that. But I'm like yes. Keep it alive.
Keep it alive.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did y'all watch the interview? There was an interview that got real popular with Green Day, and someone was asking about. They asked the bass player, like, why do you think Green Day is like having this like resurgence and popularity? And he said that he was like, when we were in our prime, it was the last big hoorah before smartphones came out.
Yeah.
And he believes that Gen Z and younger people kind of envy that and want to get a piece of that. And so I think that there's something to be said about. I think that's true. Like that era of music was the last time we got the chance to discover music through our friends, through MySpace. I think I would like find a... I remember I would like check out my friend's MySpace page, see my top 10. If my top 10 changed, I would like
Yeah.
see what their profile was about. And then I would listen to their song. And then if I liked the song, I would go on LimeWire and like rip that song and burn it on a CD.
And you could put the song on your profile.
Yeah.
So you had to like really work. Yeah, you had to work to get that music that you loved, you know?
Yeah. I still have my my LimeWire ripped Mr. Jones as my ringtone on my phone. It's been there for like 15 years and I love it. So it's great. Yeah, different time. So how do you feel about like, I mean, as a singer-songwriter right now with like just the state of the music industry and stuff like that? Like I haven't really like gotten deep into like talking with any artist that's like doing, you know, with Spotify and all the streaming music and then trying to sell albums and like all the, like how do you feel about where we are and like where things are going with just like music and the whole industry?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I've been asked that before. And my honest answer is that I feel pretty optimistic about it, actually. I've also been called a toxic optimist before.
Okay.
So I'm very aware that there are a lot of downsides to the way music is created and distributed these days, especially when it comes to like compensation for artists. But I you know, 10, 20 years ago, not even 10 years ago, but 15, 20 years ago, like if you wanted to distribute an album on a global level, like you really couldn't do that unless you were a part of a major label.
Right.
But now, like for I think it's $10 a month, you can upload a song to every major streaming platform. People from all over the world have access to your music. I had a song get picked up by like a bunch of yoga studios in Brazil. And that I've made like a few $100s like just from that one thing happening. And so like the trade-off is in my eyes that you're not getting compensated for those plays and people consuming that music like you would had you sold a CD to somebody.
Yeah.
But you're also distributing it on a level that you could never do if you were just like trying to hawk CDs at local shows, you know? So I like that people are advocating and fighting for fair compensation amongst streaming platforms and artists. And there's like Ross Golan is a major dude, major songwriter, like who's actually like helped get certain legislation passed to like compensate songwriters better. So I know that that's a problem. I'm very aware of it, and I want to be sensitive to that and you know empathetic. But I also think that there's a positive trade-off that comes with that, and I am happy to be living in a world where you can distribute your stuff on a global platform, like with literally no effort and for $10. Like I think that's pretty miraculous, you know. And I just choose to be optimistic about that and try my best to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
That's how it was with me and the Skip Rent Buy podcast when we were doing that. We were getting like listens and views out in Germany for some odd reason. And I was just like, that's where we were mostly getting it at. I was just like, I don't know what's happening, but hey, I'm happy about it. People are listening to it. So yeah.
It is pretty cool being able to seek out those. I mean, just like we went to, we go to these conventions and stuff like that. And there's not as many conventions post-COVID as there was prior to that. But like it was really neat to go to an event and meet somebody who, like we met Larian Studios, which is the creators of Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, wow.
And we ran into this before Baldur's Gate came out, and they wouldn't tell us anything about it. I was trying to get out of them. They wouldn't tell us, but it was fine. But we met each other, and it was just like, here I am, like sitting here talking to a person that's from, I think they were based in, I want to say Poland, somewhere in Europe. But it's like, we have the exact same like life in a sense, in a weird way, but in different places where it's like we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons and nerding out about that for like half an hour and talking about just like, you know, jumping on Discord and playing with our friends and this, that, whatever. And it's just like the same, but not obviously because, you know, they're from a different country and stuff like that. But it was just like, it was so cool to have that kind of experience. So I think to be able to reach out and actually, one of the guys that listens, I don't know if he still listens to our podcast, but there's a guy that we know, Mark, that when we were doing a project at one point, we met him online and he did music for us on back when I was doing film a long time ago. We met this guy in Denmark, never met him face to face, but became like friends with him over the internet, you know, across the pond, you know, and it was just a fascinating kind of experience to see that occur and, you know, have that capability to do something like that where you can meet somebody around the world and synchronize and, you know, just talk about stuff in different places and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, the closest comparison I'm curious what your thoughts on this are, but like I feel like now the indie gaming world is much more robust than it's ever been, and I think that's a byproduct of the internet, social media, and things like that. And so I think if you were trying to be an indie game developer 15 years ago, I think it would be a long, hard road ahead versus today. And I think that there's a similar comparison you can make for musicians that yes, it is problematic, and I do think that a lot of these platforms are exploitative.
Yeah.
But there is a way that that culture can benefit you as well. So and I see that when I'm looking at the eShop, I'm like, oh, there's all these crazy cool games of studios I've never heard of, and some of them are awesome, like Game of the Year winning like games, like crazy.
It is one of those things where it's like I think what it kind of breaks down to is you have more opportunity for more people to get in the business, but there's less. You can't go as high up, I guess, as far as like revenue and stuff like that. But it's more distributed across a lot of people.
Yeah.
So like I think for me that's nice, and that you don't have like 10 people that are making all the money doing all the things, but instead now you have things like Balatro. Have you played Balatro? Yeah.
It's crazy.
Or I guess
Very
it's called
addictive.
Balatro now. Yeah.
Stop playing.
But that game, I mean, that one dude made so much money off of that game, and it's just continuing to grow, and so there's that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, what's the name of the guy who did Stardew Valley?
Oh gosh, what is his name?
He's done a bunch of stuff, but
he's incredible and still making money off of that game.
Yeah. And I wonder if like a guy like him could have done that 20 years ago.
No, yeah, for sure. And it's like when I was in my high school days, I was working on I think what people did then was that you just built mods for games, and that was kind of the scene, but you couldn't monetize that. And now with Steam and stuff like that, it's like you can make a game. And R.E.P.O, we've been talking a lot of.
Jesus
have you heard of R.E.P.O?
I haven't. What's R.E.P.O?
So R.E.P.O is a new indie game. Came out 2 weeks ago? No, 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks
within
ago.
the last couple of weeks, yeah. And it's a 4-player co-op horror game.
Okay.
Where you and your friends, you're these little like talking. Did you ever watch South Park?
Yeah.
Okay, so when they have like the Canadians and their like heads are like bobbing up and down like that? That idea, but you're these little like, I don't know, pill
You're
bottle
like, you know what a
characters.
telescope looks like? It expands out and it expands in.
Yeah.
You're like that, but you're a robot.
Okay.
And your head moves
I
up
guess
and
you're a
down.
robot, yeah.
And you talk. So basically what you do is that your team goes into a house or a mansion or
whatever,
a themed Harry Potter castle, and you go in there and you take items, put it in a cart, and make quota to repo all this stuff.
Okay.
But the downfall is that there's enemies inside that can kill you. So you have to squat down, hide, be quiet, all this other jazz. But
Metal Gear Solid kind of.
yeah, Metal Gear Solid kind of thing. But if you make any noise, because it uses an in-game mic and your mouth moves.
Okay.
We were streaming it last Tuesday, I believe, and we were just playing. And one of my friends, I died, so you get to watch everyone.
Yeah.
One of my friends, he was walking across trying to sneak around. He's crouched, and he just like, "Ooh," and he made a noise, and the clown thing turned around and shot a laser at him. So it's just it gets super fun, and it's just I think the main fun part about that game is the communication with your team, and just the hilarious moments that you get into.
So it takes your voice as input for the game. And
and puts it in there.
affects the gameplay.
It's so funny. Yeah. And then we were I love when you told me about like let's play some music and see what happens. We put like I put like Slim Shady in the mic, and the little characters like rapping.
Really?
Singing it.
So
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
so funny, man.
It's a
good
fun game. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's just on PC, right? Well, no, I think they brought one out on console.
It's on
too.
console now. I
Yeah.
don't think it's on the Nintendo Switch, but it's on PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides about being a Switch guy. Is like there's not a lot of you miss out on a lot of those deep indie stuff. That's pretty worthwhile.
Well, what games are you playing now? Because you said you're just a Switch guy.
Yeah, that's the only console I own.
Okay.
When I was growing up, like Nintendo was the thing pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Until Xbox, PlayStation, like
Right.
that was it. So, so recently I just finished Tears of the Kingdom, which I'm a little bit late to the party on that.
Nice.
And then I've been on a big kick of like what got me back into gaming was the 2DS, funny enough, because it was super affordable and there was all these games from my childhood that I could revisit.
Oh, okay.
So like games that I tried playing when I was a kid that I couldn't quite beat, didn't have the the beans for it. And
Isn't
so-
that weird though?
Yeah.
Like you play a game when you were younger and you're like, I can't play this game. But then you play it when you're like 5 years older and you're like, this game is fucking easy. I don't know like why I was struggling.
Or sometimes it's like, oh shit, I still can't.
Yeah.
I still can't play.
That happened to me with Ocarina of Time. I got that game and I was like, oh, this will be fun. Like I'll finally get to play through it. And like a few hours in, I'm already like on forums, like or texting friends, being like, "How do you solve this puzzle?" Or like, "How do you get this done?" And that's a tough game. But yeah, that I think Switch is the system for me. Just they did something really cool making that console, and a lot of my friends and I both, or all, like have talked about like we'll have friends over who aren't traditionally gamers, and you'll suggest like, "Hey, let's get the Switch out," or like play this game. And I feel like it's a console for gamers and non-gamers. And I think with the Switch too, we're going to see more like AAA games like that are going to be on there. So I'd like to see that. That's the only weak spot, in my opinion, for the Switch is AAA games and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the current game you're playing now, are you playing any current games?
Yeah. I played through Hollow Knight. Played through...
Nice.
I beat Metroid Prime, which was great. That was one of the ones I was like on my checklist
Nice.
with Remaster. Did Tears of the Kingdom, and now I'm playing Red Dead Redemption, which came out for the PS3, right? Or the
It came out on
PS2?
the PS3. You're correct. PS3. Yeah. And then, dude, fuck that game. Well, no, like I bought the game and I had it on PlayStation 3, and this is when I was living in the dorms in Tucson. And for some reason, the game just stuck on a loading screen.
Oh no!
I didn't know what to do, but this was back in the day where Blockbuster was still around and all that jazz. So I went to go rent the game, swapped them out, and then it worked.
Nice.
It's like, but yeah. Red Dead was on PS3. So
Yeah.
it's on the Switch now.
Yeah, it's on the Switch.
shit.
It looks great. It's
Really?
and it's the first time I've played a Rockstar game too, which is like a
wow.
totally different vibe than Zelda and any Nintendo game, honestly. So Rockstar having some games available on the Switch is really cool. Red Dead is the first one I'm getting into for that one. So
Okay.
yeah, it's fun.
Are you playing it on TV or handheld mostly?
TV.
Yeah, yeah.
Handheld for the Switch to me doesn't feel that great, especially when you use a Pro controller and you get used to how good that feels. It's hard to do anything that requires any sort of accuracy with the Joy-Cons.
I agree. Yeah. How you liking Red Dead so far?
It's great. I'm not that far into it.
Okay.
But I dig the story. Like the story is interesting and I think well written, which is something I wasn't expecting, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I thought it would be kind of vague and not a lot of like story emphasis. But the characters are cool. Your ability to make decisions and that affect the story and gameplay is cool. I'm figuring out the balancing act between like complete chaos and like being like a good person in the game, which I think is fun. And they do a good job making that line kind of fun to navigate.
Okay.
Because there's times when if no one's around and no one can see you, you can do some like pretty shady stuff that will get you further in the game. But if you push that too far, it'll very quickly like come back at you. And that's cool. And I've been told that was a lot of like what Grand Theft Auto was built around and things like that. So I'm having a good time with it.
You need to, after you're done, you need to play the Undead Nightmare version.
Oh yeah, it came with it.
Fucking so much fun.
It's
Dude.
good, yeah.
Favorite.
Yeah.
Red Dead for me, the Red Dead 1 is still one of my top 5 favorite
Really?
stories of all time.
Okay.
Yeah. It's incredible. Like start to finish. Like you definitely want to beat it because it's such a good start to finich storyline that they just nobody has really been able to like hit that. And I haven't been Red Dead 2 yet, so I don't know
I've
what
seen
that's
clips of
like.
Red Dead
But
2. It's gorgeous.
It's so
I can't
gorgeous.
imagine the gameplay in that. When I think about how impressed I am by Red Dead 1, like, it makes me want to go out and buy another console to play Red Dead.
yeah, our goal by the end of this is you're gonna walk away and be like, I'm buying a PlayStation 5 today. I'm just kidding.
Here we go.
Yeah, the Switch is fun. I mean, we have the Switch 2. They're announcing on April 2nd the new Switch 2. Hopefully, we're gonna hear everything about it. I don't know yet, but like, are you excited for that?
I am
You think
excited
you're gonna
about it.
pick
I didn't
one
know
up?
that there's like a big. What are they going to do on April 2nd? Just like talk more about it?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be the actual like full announcement of. I mean, I think they're gonna give the release date, the specs, like showcase hopefully some games and stuff like that because they revealed what it looks like. You know, they did that announcement. What was it, a couple months ago now, and that was cool. But it just showed here's what it looks like, but they didn't tell you what it does. You know, so we don't know like what the frame rate's going to be, or is it going to be 4K in any capacity? Probably not. But
The only thing we know is that the Joy-Cons are magnetic. It seems like because it just clicked on, and then
they have the.
that was what I was going to bring up too. We're assuming that it's going to be a mouse now with the Joy-Con, which that opens my eyes to that they're going to come out with more AAA titles for the game. But like Brett said, we don't really know the specs on it and how it's going to perform.
I had just bought Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic for the Switch, which again, I think Nintendo is genius about just throwing out all these nostalgic games. But I remember thinking like this is kind of hard to navigate with the
joystick,
right?
And when I saw the announcement trailer for the Switch 2 and I saw them do that thing, I was like, oh, that would be. There's a lot of games that would be super nice to have.
I just don't know if the Joy-Con would be comfortable enough to like.
Same.
I feel like it's gonna be awkward, but But the idea, I mean, Nintendo.
But someone's gonna
it's
if they
like-
have that technology, someone's gonna make a controller that is,
Oh yeah,
is a mouse.
100%.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm stoked about that.
Yeah. But yeah, this was to announce everything there, and then we'll see what the actual release date is going to be. But I was hoping there would be a lot more like teases of like here's what's coming with it, leading up to the
Mario
event.
Kart.
We haven't seen a whole but I mean like leaks or whatever around like what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
but
or Metroid, they did tease that, I think.
yeah, they're supposed to be doing that in Metroid Prime 4. We went on that
shit.
game forever, but that's got to be a launch title, I think. But which I've actually, you said you beat Metroid Prime. I have never played a Metroid Prime.
Man, it's great.
Yeah.
That is such a fun game.
Really?
Yeah, for me, getting a Switch, probably top 3 for me. Was
really?
getting the remaster looks really great. You notice they do a good job. You know how like you revisit a game from your childhood and like you imagine it through the eyes you saw it through when you were a kid, and then you kind of get a little bit disenfranchised when you see like, oh, the graphics aren't that great. But with the remaster, it was like playing the game I had imagined when I was a kid.
Okay.
Because it looks gorgeous, it plays really, really well, and yeah, I'd highly recommend that. It was a lot of fun. That's a great game.
Yeah.
I just don't use my Switch at all because there's no like there's good games on there, but like I played Breath of the Wild and I got to the point where you go fight Ganon and I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I just don't want to play it anymore.
Yeah.
And then I never picked up the latest one, Tears of the Kingdom. Is that what it's called?
Wasn't your thing?
It wasn't my thing. And then any other game, like I beat Odyssey. Odyssey was super fun.
Okay.
And then I don't know. I feel like it's more meant for like a party. That system's just meant for a party system because we played Crawl on it, which I love playing with people, and then we played Super Smash Bros, Mario
Mario
Kart,
Party,
and
too.
then what's that?
Super Mario Party.
Yeah, Super
Let's
Mario
play that,
Party is
yeah.
super fun. But like I don't pull it out like I do with my PlayStation or my PC or anything, especially if I want a very story narrative driven game.
Sure.
So
Yeah, and Metroid kind of does lack. Story's not super. I wouldn't consider that a strong suit. What are you playing through right now? Like what's in your top?
my top like
If you don't mind answering.
yeah, no, I don't mind at all. My number one and will always be my number one is Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay, I've heard
That
that one. Yeah.
fucking game, it makes me cry every fucking time. Like I played it 10 different times and I really love it. The second one will probably be Red Dead. Fucking love Red Dead.
So third person, story driven.
Yes, 100% all the way. And then Assassin's Creed 3. Something about that game truly love.
That's the one that I did not love as much in the series. Was
Really?
Yeah, it was so slow getting into the combat, like that whole like intro, like as the kid, we were playing through, and I was just like, oh,
I thought it built up a lot. It built up the character a lot, and that's what I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So, God, I don't know. I guess, the God of War series, like hands down, that's a good one.
Yeah, I can see why Switch wouldn't. It doesn't really scratch those same itches.
No, it doesn't. And like, don't get me wrong, I love the Switch.
It has its place.
Yeah, it has its place. It's like a very interesting console. And when it first came out, I was blown away by like a handheld console. I can run around, play, and then sit it down on a dock and play it on TV. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's just I haven't used it as much as I wanted to. So
It's interesting. I'm curious to see how they're gonna bring back the relevance of the Switch, because when the Switch first came out, the thing that was so exciting about it was the handheld screen nature. Nobody had done that, and that not successfully at least. And now, like as that console's evolved, because it was 2017, I think it came out, so it's been 8 years. So all that time, like we now have like that was my indie console for a long time was the Switch, because they were really putting a lot of effort into indie games on this platform. And then the Steam Deck came out on Steam, and I have such a massive library of indie games on there, and they're often cheaper, that I just play on that. If I want handheld, then I don't need I have my PC and my handheld, which they're two separate devices, but it still operates the same way, where I can like play on my Switch, my Steam Deck, and then jump on my PC and go from where I left off, kind of idea.
Okay.
And it just seamlessly, connects itself together.
And you're those big AAA games, third person story driven.
Yeah.
Those feel pretty good to you on the Steam Deck. I was curious how that would translate.
Yeah, I don't play them. The Steam Deck specifically for me is for indie games.
Okay.
That's my indie game hardware. So I'm playing games like what was the one I just recently played on there? UFO 50 was one that I was playing. It's like a set of 50 games that is like feeling like games from like the 80s to the 90s kind of idea. Yeah. And then I was playing Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom was another game that was kind of fun and silly, kind of like a PS2 style game. And I've played a lot of like Hades 2, playing that on there. So like things that are indie with.
Did you just say Hades 2?
Yes,
Hades
it's in
2
early
is-
access.
Okay,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hades 1 is on the Switch, and that was a top 5 game for me, I think, on the Switch.
Such a good game,
I still
man.
play it, you know.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, the new one, I mean, it feels just the same. It's just going to be like,
exciting.
you have a female character now, and you're just like running around, and it's just, there's more stuff you can do.
I
And
like the artwork in that one.
It's
artwork's so
gorgeous.
good.
And
Beautiful.
interesting story, you know, interesting characters. Yeah, that's a perfect
I never beat it, but like back when I started playing Hades, I wasn't into like roguelikes like that. Now I'm into them like hardcore, and like I've been playing a lot of deck building roguelike games. I just recently played a game called what was that card game or the Dice Folk is what it was called. It was a game called Dice Folk, and it's like you basically just like roll dice, and you have a set of attacks and moves you can do with the dice that you have collected, and then you do your stuff, and then you then do the same. You use the dice from the enemy team to attack yourself.
Okay.
So you're kind of playing against yourself in a sense, but you strategically have to figure out when to play these different dice to, you know, win the game essentially. But it's roguelike in the style that you go in there and you keep fighting, and then you die, and start over and
you come
do a
back
run
with
again.
more. And
Yeah,
you're tooled
yeah.
out. Okay.
So love it for that. So
I want to see Hades too. That's cool.
yeah, it's available now. I think it's even on Switch. I think you can get it on Switch as early access. Really? So, but I'm also I played a little bit, and I was like, I'm gonna wait and just like play it finish, you know, and be good. And it's mostly finished now, but I'd rather just know that it's done, you know, and jump into it. So yeah. What are some of your favorite, like, you know, you mentioned you've been playing games since like the early Nintendo days and stuff like that. What are some of your favorite games?
Man, you know, so when I was a kid, my family, we spent some time living in Oregon, and I have the vivid memories of we would visit Texas, and whenever we would visit Texas, we would borrow our
Got it.
nice.
Good. Sorry, my bad.
Too many White Claws there.
All right.
Yeah.
We would borrow our aunt's, like I said earlier, her Super Nintendo, and so it exposed me to Super Mario World, which is I just watched a documentary about that, and I'm a big Nintendo like fanboy and I think is, you know, they were interviewing some of the developers who were behind like Super Mario World, and one of the guys talked about like their mindset when they're making those kinds of games is that like we're making something that people are going to play forever, you know. And like I think that kind of culture still exists within Nintendo for the most part. And even though it's always been like the weakest system specs wise, I think that they do a great job making their games interesting and fun, especially when you look at the kind of constraints they have on the hardware. So yeah, Super Mario World. I remember getting Nintendo 64 when I was a kid. And the jump from SNES to 64 was pretty mind-blowing, you know? And so that was when, like, Super Smash Bros. Came out. I had Ocarina of Time. I had Donkey Kong 64, which I wish they'd put that in the Switch. Donkey Kong 64 was such a vibe. It's such a weird game that I would love to play again. And then I remember getting a GameCube. And when I bought a GameCube, that was when I was, like, old enough to, like, I feel like I had, like, 3 paths. Like PlayStation, you know, Xbox or GameCube.
Yeah.
And GameCube is kind of a weird one because I feel like it was an attempt to be like
PlayStation.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I feel you on that one. Yeah.
And I don't feel that they really did it, but the games they came out with that were console specific were really cool. Like Beautiful Joe, another game I wish they would put out on the Switch. Things like that. And there were enough, like, I remember playing Need for Speed Underground on the GameCube and like thinking that was awesome.
I love that game.
Dude, great. I bought Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, hoping that it would scratch like the Underground itch, but it's not the same. Need for Speed Underground is a special game.
Yeah.
And then, it was a lot of Mario. Super Mario 64 was obviously a big one. And then it took a long time away from games. I had an Xbox, played like Knights of the Old Republic, which for me is a really, really fun game. And then when I went to college, I never bought into the next gen. Like when 360 came out, I was kind of done gaming. I was like locked in some other things, just didn't have the budget or the time. And then, and again, I think to the credit of Nintendo, they created a console that got me back into gaming.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to buy whatever the next gen console is. I'm probably going to buy it just because I had such a good time with the Switch. And so they do a good job creating a niche and marketing to that niche really, really well. So
did you ever play the I'm trying to remember the name of it, the Zelda game that just recently came out you play as Zelda?
Yeah, Echoes of Wisdom.
Yes.
I haven't played that one yet. I did play when I had the 2DS, which was like my gateway drug into the Switch. I played Between Two Worlds,
Okay.
which had the mechanic where you could go into the 2D dimension and like navigate the world.
That one sounds so familiar.
It was really cool. It was interesting puzzles because it was obviously top down, third person, and then you would find these puzzles where you had to engage with like the 2-dimensional world, but you could hop in and out of it really quickly, and so there were puzzles that you had to think about it in a 3-dimensional term, and then you had to think about it in 2-dimensional terms, and you had to hop between those two. So it was like a real like it made me feel like I was using my brain. Like to do these kind of complex puzzles.
Those are fun, those kind of games. Did you ever play Fez?
Fez, no.
Fez was that kind of idea. It was in one of the early, back when indie games were like just becoming a thing. You had a couple of like
heard of Fez,
premier ones. Fez was out, Braid came out, and then that was, I think Stardew Valley was close around that time too. But what was the other one that was the bloody one? Binding of Isaac, I think. No, Super Meat Boy. That also came out around the same time.
Boy.
But
you basically play a little Meat Boy, and you just it was
super violent,
it was
bloody,
weird.
right?
It was weird.
I'll check it out. Weird is cool. Weird is fun.
Fez was a game where it played with that whole dimensional thing, where it's like you were on one screen, it's 2D or whatever, you're moving around. But when you got to the edge, you could press a button and it would rotate the world to do then that other plane, and you could rotate. You could go all the way around, and the map was different on all 4 sides. So it was like fully 3D, quote unquote, but you're looking at one side.
It's amazing how they come up with like something that just minute, and it just changes everything.
Yeah, it's a cool mechanic. There was a game like that for the iPad called Monument Valley.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
And it was real. You had to really, it was cool. It would really trip you out sometimes.
Brain teaser for sure. Yeah. And then there was what was that game I played a couple years? Viewfinder. Have you seen Viewfinder? Heard of that?
That one's good.
That was a very simple 3-4 hour kind of indie experience. But you are in this. You go in this. I think you're in a virtual space, and you're doing like tests or something like that in this virtual space. But you can take a photo, and then based on like what you take a photo of, you can put that photo somewhere else, and it creates a new pathway for you. So you basically hold that photo up, and it puts that into the world.
It's like a Polaroid. You take a photo, move it out. You can expand it out, or put it like let's say I take a picture of this, I put it out here, and it goes a little bit bigger, so I can hop on it and go to the next path.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was very unique. I played the early demo of that, and I was enjoying it.
Nice.
So
an interesting new mechanic is something that is exciting, and I like getting into those.
Yeah, that's why I liked. I didn't finish Echoes of Wisdom because like I think every Nintendo game for me is just like there's a point where I start to. Nintendo games actually for me are kind of challenging, are very challenging and can be hard, and they test my patience sometimes, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this game. I can't do it anymore. Like Tears of the Kingdom, I got into it, and there was a point where I was like, I can't figure this out. I'm done. I need my training wheels, and I don't have them. It was
you got to do more shrines. That's
I know exactly. That's what I need to do. But Echoes of Wisdom, like it was really interesting in that mechanic of how much stuff you can do to like stack beds to like get to different places and stuff.
I need to play that one. I've been told that the mechanic. Someone told me it's like a micro version of Tears of the Kingdom, where like the mechanic it's kind of limitless, like what you can do.
100%. Yeah. It's really really cool, and it's a beautiful game too. That's on the Switch. Both.
I like that style. I'm assuming it's similar to Between Two Worlds. And
Probably,
I really like that aesthetic.
Yeah,
nice.
I never played Between Two Worlds, but
that's a fun one. I think it won Game of the Year when it came out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The box I had the Game of the Year badge on it. So.
Love it. Yeah, that's awesome. So what are you excited about? Like, what are some new games coming down the pipeline?
Dude, Hades 2. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for Hades 2 forever. I think I heard about Hades 2 before I even played Hades 1, and so I just knew it was coming. Same thing with Hollow Knight. There was a sequel to Hollow Knight. I was a big fan of that game. Thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
And
Hollow Knight Silk Song, I don't know if it's ever going to come out.
I don't know if it's ever come out.
Talking about this forever, and they're like, yeah, we're still alive, we're still working on it, and then it's been like 6 or 7 years, I think, or something. So
that was a cool game, cool story that rewards you for going the extra mile and rewards you like with good story. And I think that's to your point about story being so important. Like Hades, once you beat Hades, you want to keep going. Not to just like unlock stuff or whatever, or like check things off, but like when you go further past beating it, you're rewarded with like learning more about characters or seeing where things go with this arc,
Okay.
And so I wanted to keep playing through and 100%ing things because I wanted to see what would happen with this character, and Hollow Knight had a similar energy about it, and that makes me excited to play Silk Song. So yeah, there's a few sequels that I'm excited about. Metroid Prime 4. Excited about that. I would like to play 2 and 3. I haven't played those. I don't know if they're going to release those, but that'd be a great thing to put out with the Switch 2. So yeah, man, Hades 2. I'm gonna have to go home and see if there's a way for me to get a hold of that.
Yeah, it's a good one for sure. There's a lot of this is gonna be a big year for games. There's a lot of stuff coming out. There's already stuff that's come out that's been big, and then to the point of the indie games, it's like we don't know what some of those are going to be that are going to like hit off, like R.E.P.O, for example. Like that wasn't on our bingo card,
R.E.P.O,
and it's just like blowing our minds with how good it is. And last year for me, like Balatro and Manor Lords and all these like really cool indie titles came out that was just like, damn, these guys are like just knocking it out of the park. So
it is cool. Yeah, and with like there's some like YouTubers I follow, and so between like YouTube, Twitch, and like the podcast world, like you can find out about these indie games that are really epic. So if you make a good indie game and you tell people about it, like the word will get out somehow.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah. Speaking of like good indie games coming, I just saw that the guys that did what was the game that we played? That was we met the developer at one point. I can't remember the name of the game right now. But Skate Story is their new game. Remember Skate Story? We were watching that, and it was like very colorful and like
where you're like a glass person.
Yeah,
you're like a glass person. You're skating along and stuff like that.
He just brought out a new trailer for that, and it's coming out this year. So check out Skate Story.
Skate Story, all right.
It's beautiful and
it's very
weird, and beautiful. I don't know exactly what, but you're a skateboarder.
Yeah,
but it's like in this futuristic like
galaxy style
space something or another. And it just looks so cool. But their first game, I'm blanking on the name of it, but it was like you play these little like QB characters or whatever. Zarvot, that's what it's called. Zarvot. It was very highly like visual, like good graphics kind of thing for what it was on an indie game, but it's on Switch, and you run around in this like world telling a story about this guy's he's a immigrant from I think he's some I can't remember if he's Vietnamese or if he was like from the Philippines or somewhere in like East Asia is where he was from and stuff like that, and talking about coming to America in New York City and like just the culture shock and how different that was, but told through like little square characters that are in this like isometric world. And it was just such a cool game, such an interesting storyline. Then there was a multiplayer aspect where you just like get to beat each other up.
That's
and
the
stuff.
part I remember is the multiplayer. I was like, what are you talking
because we had that on screen for
we
the
had it at one of our events, and it was just like I wouldn't say Smash Bros. I'm trying to compare it to something else. But you're basically in this arena. You're this little cube. You get power-ups and stuff. You can shoot each other. You can hit each other. And you just run around and fight each other. Yeah. So it's like a death match between 4 cubes.
Yeah.
So,
low entry as far as like figuring out how to...
100%, yeah. It's like three moves or whatever. It's super easy, but it's a great game. And he's a cool guy. And just I'm excited for where that game goes and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I'm going to have y'all send me a list of games be searching for in the eShop.
So many, man. So many games. You said you were playing some Smash with
dude.
some guys. Who's your Smash character?
Well, that's a little embarrassing. My main's been Kirby, just because he can.
I love Kirby.
There's low entry level for kicking ass with Kirby. Honestly,
yeah.
I got a lot of friends be like, dude, because I just like down B so often with that guy.
Oh, nice.
But I mean, when you're playing in a tournament, you got to use what you got, and like I don't have the same skills as these other guys do. I haven't played through the game myself, so I'm like, all right, Kirby, I'm gonna figure out how to maximize this and at least be as annoying as possible. You know? And so, I'm that guy though. I'll float around. I'll wait for the field to clear a little bit, and then just down B until
there you go.
People get sick of me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's a few Byleth and what's the character? It's in one of the DLCs, but it's one of the characters that you can switch between two that have different moves. And there's one of those that I really enjoy playing with. And honestly, when I'm playing for friends, I always just hit random because I think that's the only way you're really gonna like force yourself to learn.
There's so many characters in that one, man. I miss the Nintendo 64 one.
Yeah,
like
dude,
that's the one I fucking love playing.
Oh yeah,
great.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
Yeah.
And
then apparently everybody loved what was it, Melee? That was on GameCube.
GameCube. Yep.
That was. I never had a GameCube. That was a one console. Well, actually, no. That was one of many consoles that I skipped in the Nintendo era, and then it brought me back in with the Switch. But like I skipped the Wii, I skipped the GameCube, I skipped the Wii U.
The Wii U didn't miss much. What's funny to me, I was thinking about this on the drive over here. Like the Wii U, the Switch is essentially the successor to the Wii U.
100%.
The Wii U was a terrible system, and Nintendo was like, "No, we can
improve it. We can make it better."
It's like, let us cook. So the Wii U was a total flop, and like here's just a better version of the Wii U, and it ends up being like the highest selling system of all time.
Isn't that wild?
That's just so crazy. But
because the Wii U, like you couldn't take it out of your house, right? Like it had to be Wi-Fi.
I never owned one, so I couldn't tell.
Okay,
it had to be Wi-Fi. I'm trying to think of
like you could play it handheld.
It also just wasn't. It didn't look good. The screen wasn't big.
What was was it a disc?
I don't remember.
I can't remember either.
I thought they were. I don't know.
I think it was in a transitionary period. Yeah, I don't even know what a Wii U game looks like.
Yeah,
was it
me
a
either.
cartridge?
I don't think it was. I
don't think so. I think it was a. Yeah, I think it was a disc.
The benefit of Switch 2.
To our point,
backwards compatible.
We don't even remember.
Yeah.
But it's something I almost respect that Nintendo was like, no, listen,
we're gonna force it.
We can do this, and they were right.
Like, they did well.
Yeah, Smash Bros is a good example of that because they're again like not the most robust hardware, but when you look back at like Super Mario World, like they figured out how to make the movements feel really good, the input really good, and that same culture went into Super Smash Brothers, where like, yeah, the response is so great, the moves are so great, it feels good playing it, you know, and that is something I think a lot of like other consoles and studios can learn from is like it can look beautiful, and that's its own merit and its own reason to play, but if it doesn't feel good playing it, and if it's not fun, then like it doesn't really matter that much how beautiful it is, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I think Nintendo has always kind of maintained that philosophy.
I think Nintendo is just mostly meant for like it needs to play fun because majority of what we're going for is for the family units, you know. Yeah. So I think the jump, because God, the Wii U I barely remember. I remember playing Mario Party, and that was like a big thing because you can play as Bowser on the actual device, and then everyone else played as like, you know, the minions or whatever trying to get through the board.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
it was a disc, by the way.
Yeah, it just hit me that it was a disc when I was talking about it. So.
Yeah. What a terrible console.
I know.
Yeah, it was so bad.
but yeah, they learned. I guess they had a. I'm curious though if it was like did the Wii U have to exist for the Switch to exist?
Oh, 100%.
Imagine
the Wii U walked so the Switch could run.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. Well, Switch 2 we got coming out. They were announcing April 2nd. I'm excited to see what that's going to be. So we tried to. They were also doing. You could come and play the Switch at like certain events. Really? One of which was in Dallas. I signed up for it and I was like, cool, this is gonna be awesome. And I found out what I signed up for. It sold out like in like 2 minutes. So what I had was just a wait list, and I was so bummed. I was like so excited to try and get in there and check it out, but
you gotta tell me how that optical mouse works on this.
I know, right? That's the goal. Yeah, because I mean things like Civilization 7 just came out on the Switch, and I'm like, I don't know how you play that. I
did not expect that. I played the one before that. It was kind of fun. Didn't really look that great on it, but I was surprised that they even put the new one on.
I was too. Yeah. So I mean, but you know, when that mouse comes out, it's going to be a game changer. Yeah. So it'll be pretty cool.
Watch it not be a mouse at all.
I know, it really won't be.
Have y'all played Civ on the Switch?
No.
It actually didn't feel that bad.
Really?
No?
There's a lot of radial menus, I feel like.
Yes. Yeah. Tons of that. And Roller Coaster Tycoon was not the same experience. It's just so annoying trying to get that cursor around. But there's no cursor on the Switch version of Civ, which is interesting.
You can't use the touch screen?
You can. Oh, for a Roller Coaster Tycoon?
Yeah, for Roller Coaster Tycoon?
I haven't tried. I think they...
Oh, because you're mostly playing on the...
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was sitting here thinking about that. I was just like, there's a way around it, I think. But no, that makes sense.
There was a fun indie RTS game called Northgard on the Switch, which was a lot of fun too. And that same thing, it had radial menus, no cursor.
No cursor.
And it was a lot of fun. And I never thought once about, oh yeah, this is obviously like meant for PC. So I hope that I'm assuming that with Civ, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
If they could figure out how to do that with a Roller Coaster Tycoon game, that'd be perfect for me.
I love Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the 2 Point games, 2 Point Campus, 2 Point Hospital, any of that?
No.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with those games.
I think I have heard of them, but I haven't played any of them.
They're if you like Roller Coaster Tycoon, you don't get to build the roller coaster, but you get to like manage like
management sim.
Yeah, management sim kind of idea.
I kind of
silly
like those,
and kind of it's kind of like a kind of cutesy like art style and stuff like that. But the narrator in the game is really funny and silly, and they just like really like when you're playing 2 Point Campus, basically you have classes where you learn how to like do really stupid stuff. So there's not like a math class or whatever. It's just like, you know, learning how to, I don't know, dismantle, I don't know, something stupid and out there and stuff like that. They just brought out 2 Point Museum, which I've picked up and I have not played yet, but I want to. But it's on the Switch. But Two Point Campus is on the Switch.
Okay,
and it's fun.
I'll pull it up. I'm excited about it. Yeah,
it's so silly.
Yeah, going from Tears of the Kingdom into Red Dead, like from one third person story driven game to another. I feel like I almost want something different, like to counteract that. So maybe that'll be a nice change of pace.
We always talk about like having games that are like palate cleansers.
Yeah,
way,
I need that.
Like whatever your palate cleanser is between other stuff.
I think I need that because for whatever reason I've been like slow. I'm not super stoked about Red Dead right now, and I think it's just because it feels like another Tears of the Kingdom.
It's a long game. I mean, it was like 40 hours, probably 50 hours, something like that to beat that game. It was crazy. So. And Tears of the Kingdom, I know, is also pretty extensive too. So
yeah, that game can be as long as you want it.
Yeah. What do you think of the building mechanics in that?
I loved it. I've talked about this with a lot of friends, and the critique I hear the most about Tears of the Kingdom is that it's a little bit overwhelming and too much, and it is. But the thing is that I experienced was I didn't ever get that deep into the building mechanic. I learned it enough to get through the game successfully. So I feel like it doesn't punish you for not deep diving into the mechanic, but it definitely rewards you if you choose to go that route. Mm-hmm. So and in my opinion, that was a perfect balance. Because when it first started teaching me what it was, I was like, okay, this is a lot, and I don't know if I'm ever going to get the hang of this. Mm-hmm. But the shrines also, they re-engineered the shrines to where every single shrine is basically a little tutorial to figure out how to use Ultra Hand better.
Right.
And so that was super helpful. And my algorithm on YouTube shows me all these crazy YouTube shorts of like the crazy stuff people build. My favorite one was like someone building a giant Beyblade arena in Tears of the Kingdom.
I didn't see that one.
Dude, I'll send it to you. It's really funny. So it's just, I think it's really, really cool. I think that genuinely people have done things in that game that the developers had never even dreamed like they would do. And so and I think when I was playing Tears of the Kingdom, I thought about that documentary I watched where the guy was talking about Super Mario World, and he was like, yeah, we're creating something that people are going to play forever. And I think that people will play Tears of the Kingdom forever just because of how robust the building mechanic is.
You can do.
Yeah, but that being said, it doesn't ever punish you for not deep diving into it. So if you just do the bare minimum, you can still play through the game really well. It's great.
I kind of want to revisit it.
You should. I think it's worth it.
Because I jumped into both games. I fell off of pretty quickly. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Austin, who's normally on our podcast with us, he's out of town right now, but he loves those games. He's that's his jam, and he beat both of them and like really sunk his teeth into it quite a bit. And I mean, there's good points about like how well designed that game is. You know, just like I was listening to them talk about how they design landmarks off in the distance to guide players to certain points without having to have an Ubisoft style map where you have just stuff everywhere on the map. You know, it's just like, here's these markers that exist in the game world that direct you down a pathway, but then they intentionally put things along that pathway to divert your attention naturally, so you feel like you have that sense of exploration, and all that was intentionally placed and designed to guide you through the story the way they want to guide you.
They didn't learn their lesson because Shadows is fucking...
Oh, of course not. Yeah,
bad.
I heard it's better though. Which is
it's
good,
better, but it's nothing like Ghost of Tsushima level where you're like you see the smoke in the distance. You're like, oh, what's over there?
Interesting.
You know? Yeah. It's just like
I don't think I ever noticed that in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. Have you played any like Ubisoft games like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry?
I played a little bit of Assassin's Creed. That was so when I first bought a Switch, I didn't own a TV. Which, again, I was like Luddite. Like I was living out of my car for a long time. So when I first moved into an apartment, I didn't have a TV. And one of the things that made me buy a Switch was the handheld component of it.
Yeah. Right.
So when I first bought the Switch, and again, I bought a TV because I was having so much fun on the Switch. It got me back into gaming. So Assassin's Creed was the first game I got with it, like that I bought like with the cartridge, you know?
Yeah.
And handheld, it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
So I bought some other games through the eShop, and then I ended up giving that away, and I never revisited it again. But I don't like on the Switch, you can't play all the Assassin's Creed games, and I don't like
just jumping into a story that you have no clue about.
When I jumped in, I can't even remember. I think it was 3, and I remember jumping into it. It was clear that there were things that happened that were significant.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to roll with this. And I didn't like that. Like I want to know the story, and so I kind of gave up on that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Can you play the first one on Anywhere?
The first one,
idea.
not
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I don't know, yeah.
But
It just
like
seems kind of.
the first one, it mostly deals with like the whole story of Assassin's Creed, like 1 through 3, and then Revelations, which is the final one, is dealing with Desmond. And Desmond's like the main protagonist, and he's the one that has the bloodlines that can sink through and use the amnest to revisit his ancestors' like past. So you can technically really just jump into any game. It's just the futuristic stuff that you have to deal with Desmond. You kind of just have to ignore and just focus in on the main story. So, for example, Assassin's Creed 3, you jump in as Desmond, doing all this shit, trying to escape, and then you revisit your ancestor. That is the main story plot. You'll pop out and inside of the Amnesty and go back to the future where you're playing as Desmond. You won't understand that story at all. Okay. But like,
I'm sure there's YouTube videos out there.
yeah, but the main story is that, and that's where they kind of failed at, is that they killed off Desmond in Revelations. He was done, and they didn't revisit it, and now it's just some random garbage. The storytelling is just off the wall.
Are you talking
crazy.
about in regards to Shadows?
Yeah,
And kind of all of them, to be honest.
all
yeah,
of them.
they
Ever
kinda-
since
ever since
Revelations
the
was
Desmond thing
dead,
stopped,
or
yeah,
was
kinda-
done. It's just kind of whatever.
For what's available on the Switch, is it worth playing through?
What's available on the Switch? AC3 is phenomenal storytelling. You just have to get past the Desmond part,
Or just watch a YouTube video.
or watch the
Yeah,
YouTube video to catch up.
That's what I would need.
But the OG one is very difficult.
Okay.
Because you have to be in a you have to stealth around constantly. You'll get
It also
spotted.
wasn't as, it was kind of like it was kind of more of a proof of concept game, I feel like, where
Yeah.
it was good, but it's not something that people look back on. Like Assassin's Creed 1 was like the shit.
Yeah.
It was Assassin's Creed 2 where it's like,
Assassin's
okay, they
Creed 2
figured
is
out
where
what
it
this
fucking
formula
kicked
was,
off, yeah.
and then that's where they kind of, the story was great. Because Assassin's Creed 1 like can get pretty boring at certain points, and it just feels really repetitive. But the idea was so good that it like kind of carried through there.
the idea, gameplay, or the story?
All the
story
above,
and
yeah.
gameplay.
Yeah.
They
Back then,
improved
yeah.
so much in Assassin's Creed 2, especially with the character himself, Ezio Auditore.
Yeah.
Fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I saw the Ezio collection you can get for the Switch.
Yeah.
So okay.
That right there, I
that-
think would be worth
that-
investing
ooh,
in.
yeah.
The Ezio collection.
Okay.
Because that's the best Assassin's Creed's ever been.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Dang. That's good to know.
It's really good.
And
Yeah.
the character is so amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And all that
So,
exploration.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have y'all make y'all.
Maybe a
whole
full
list.
list. Yeah. There's so many things. Well, it's like I remember when the Switch first came out. For whatever reason, I had this idea that I was going to look at every single game that comes out in the eShop, because when it first launched, there was like a couple hundred, and now there's like thousands.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's
okay, there's
it's
no way I
wild.
couldn't keep up with
Wild.
that. And half of them are like not great games, and the other half
a
are
lot
like
of them
really
are.
good.
What's sad is I always look at like the sales, like which ones are
Yeah.
on sale, but that's just flooded with games that are bullshit. That
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're like 99% off, and so you can't even really look
Right.
at those.
And that's the thing with Nintendo, like their main titles like Zelda and all that, they won't discount those.
No, never.
Fucking at all.
No.
I just like
Yeah, man, I wanted to play Super Mario RPG. Like that was a game that I've been waiting for. I
heard it's
and I
great.
thought, oh, I'll wait until it's on sale. Like, no,
No,
that thing's
it's never
It's
gonna
gonna
be on sale.
$60.
Yeah.
It's a 40-year-old game. It's
Nintendo
gonna be
never does
$60.
it. Yeah. I will say, I don't know if have you used those vouchers that they have that you can buy?
I've
So-
seen them. I don't really understand
so
what
they basically like they save you a little bit of money. So you buy a voucher that basically is it's a 2-game voucher that allows you to basically buy the 2 games within a year that are instead of $60 or like 50 a piece. So you save like 10 or 15 bucks.
Which
so if
you can also-
there's some coming up. It's like I've used it to buy like Tears of the Kingdom and then Echoes of Wisdom, for example, and stuff like that, and save $20.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah, and I noticed that like with the physical editions, they're often cheaper. So like if you're cool with like swapping out the cartridge, you
True.
just I save 40 or $20. Yeah, buying Tears of the Kingdom on
nice.
cartridge.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the vouchers are similar.
Similar idea, yeah,
Okay.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But it has to be on like Nintendo first party titles, so
Yeah.
you can't use it on like a whatever Ubisoft game or whatever. It's got to be like whatever Nintendo has released by their stuff. But it's been helpful. I've used it on several games now to save a little bit of cash. But yeah,
Cool. I'll look
good
into
stuff.
that.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I think we're probably getting to the point where we can start closing things out
Wrapping
here.
up.
What? Tell me. We'd love to know. Let us know when the event is.
Yes.
And then how people can find you online.
Yeah. So the event, it's the biggest show of the year for me. It's Crying in the Car, Trevor, and the Heads and Bodies, Y2K Prom, No Phones Allowed. It's Fort Worth's first phone-free local show. Super excited about it. It's going to be a very special night. It's March 29th. Music starts at 7 p.m. Doors are at 6 p.m. You can get tickets at joepatnev.com, the Tulips website, Trend website. Follow any of the bands. You'll see posts about it.
Yeah.
And yeah. Hopefully I'll see some familiar faces there.
Love it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then where can people find you on socials?
I have a site called joepatnev.com. My name is Joseph Patrick Neville. Yep. And I've got a new album out called Memory Box. Instagram's at joepatnev, JoePatnev. And so that handle for pretty much everything, including joepatnev.com.
Yeah.
So,
awesome. Yeah. That's great.
Man, I'm excited. I'm going to go home and play some Switch now. I'm excited.
Love that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good way to end this Sunday.
Maybe buy a PlayStation 5. I don't know.
Oh, there you
Get
go.
a few more of these in me. We'll see what happens.
We'll see where we go. Yeah. Any closing thoughts for our guests, our audience? Anything you want to share?
Man, shamelessly a fan of Nintendo. I think they do a good job keeping things interesting and fun, which I think is at the core of what a good game is.
Right.
And but that being said, talking to you especially, I think I've heard about God of War. I know about Red Dead 2. The new Star Wars games that have been coming out. Jedi Outcast,
Survivor. Yeah.
There's a lot of games out there that I know are worth my time because I love good storytelling, and Switch does lack some of that, and so I think I might have to, all jokes aside, bite the bullet and
buy one.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe you should play Death Stranding. If the music in that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God,
that's
dude!
a wild game. Yeah.
And it has Norman Reedus. He's the main character.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
On the Star Wars note, don't play Star Wars Outlaws. Skip that one.
Oh yeah, skip that one.
Terrible
completely.
game.
I've heard
bad.
that's not that great.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm
looks
saying.
good.
It looks
Yeah.
good.
Looks good.
Doesn't matter how good it looks if it's not fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Joseph, it's been great having you on the
Yeah,
podcast.
this has
Really
been fun.
appreciate
Thanks.
it. Everybody go check him out, joepatnev.com, and head up to the show if you're in Fort Worth and want to hit it up. It sounds like it's gonna be a good time. So thanks again, and looking forward to hopefully talking to you again in the future.
Thanks. Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. All right.
Appreciate
Well, thanks
y'all.
everybody for watching, and catch you next time.